Hello everyone and welcome to Sentence Diagramming 101. This video is about chapter 6 and we've made it to part B. So we are into adjective clauses. So remember, a clause is a group of words that has a subject and a verb, but these are dependent clauses, meaning they also have some kind of subordinating conjunction or an extra word or something that makes them unable to be independent. We already talked about adverbs, and adverbs will always have a subordinating conjunction, right? Until, because, if, when, while. Now, adjective clauses are a little different because they are adjectives, right? They're describing something. So they are going to be near a noun or a pronoun, and they're going to modify it. They're going to tell you more about it. And usually they're going to use the words who or whom, that, where, whose, which, when, and why. So those are the common words you find in adjective clauses. They have to be next to the word they modify, or your sentence gets really weird really fast. Because adverb clauses you can move, right? You move them all around. Sometimes you have to add words, as with than, but for the most part, you can move them. Adjective clauses can't move because they wreck your sentence. For instance, if you say, I gave the remote to my husband who knows how to use technology. So who knows how to use technology? That's my clause. So who is my subject? I know it's a subject because it's who. If it wasn't the subject, it would be whom, making it the object, which makes who and whom a lot easier. But who knows, knows is my verb. And then what does he know? He knows how to use technology. So to use technology would be my infinitive phrase acting as the direct object. And then how is telling me how. So it would be a modifier. But this whole thing is describing my husband, right? Gave it to my husband who knows how to use technology. So all of this goes with husband, goes with the word before. Now, if I move this and say, I gave the remote who knows how to use technology to my husband, that got weird because all of a sudden now the remote knows how to use technology, and I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like the remote is already smarter than me. Like, let's not give it any more help. So adjective clauses cannot move because the sentence gets really strange. You may have heard of a modifier issue, like your modifier is misplaced. This would be a misplaced modifier error because this whole thing is an adjective clause and it's in the wrong spot. So needs to move. Okay. Now, adjective clauses need to be near the word they're modifying, but they can be introduced in three ways, right? They can be relative pronouns that are subjects. They can be relative pronouns that are direct objects, or they can be relative adverbs. And we're going to talk about all of those things. So we'll start with the relative pronoun as a subject. So relative pronoun, just as a reminder, is who, which, and that. Those are your relatives. And they are acting as the subject. So essentially, the word that is connecting the dependent clause to the independent clause is going to be a relative, as opposed to an adverb clause where it will be a subordinating conjunction, right? It will be a because, and until, and an if. Now we're at a different kind of clause. Adjective clauses, the connecting words will be different. They'll be pronouns. Which kind of pronouns? Relative pronouns. And if you've forgotten, I know that was a long time ago, but chapter 2 has a whole section on relative pronouns, so you can see the chart and see which ones they are. Now, it's not super helpful because pronouns perform multiple functions. Welcome to English. But who, which, and that are usually the ones that we're going to have at the beginning of a sentence because they're acting as subjects. So how does this look? You're like Matt Damon, who sings the song in Euro Trip, plays Fiona's new boyfriend. I don't know if you've heard Scotty Doesn't Know, but it is a wonderful, wonderful song. So, okay. You have an entire independent clause, right? Matt Damon plays Fiona's boyfriend. That's the whole sentence, right? So Matt Damon's my subject. What is he doing? He's playing, transitive verb, and he's playing the boyfriend, direct object. So I have a Steve Doe here. But in the middle, I have this little extra clause, and it is who sings the song in Eurotrip. So in Eurotrip, prepositional phrase, we'll ignore that for now. But who is my subject, sings is my verb, transitive verb, and then song is a thing being sung. So that's the object. So this whole thing is a new dependent clause that is describing Matt Damon, right? Because he is the one who sings the song in Eurotrip. So it's like which Matt Damon, the one who sings the song, as opposed to the other Matt Damon in like some other movie, because Matt Damon does lots of movies. Now, you can also have a relative pronoun introducing as the direct object. So here it's the subject, right? Who sings the song? But if you've got Scotty Doesn't Know is the song from Eurotrip that I love, really, okay, so Scotty Doesn't Know is the song. That's my independent clause. So Scotty Doesn't Know is my subject, is my linking verb, and song is a subject complement. So this is a slivisk. And then from Eurotrip is where, adverb, prepositional phrase. But independent clause right here. Now in bold, I have that I love. But really what this sentence is, I love that. I don't know if that helps your brain at all, but if you look at I is the subject. So I love, what is it that I love? I love that. So that here is a relative pronoun, but it is acting as the direct object. So you have to kind of flip it around, right? So that I love becomes I love that. And it becomes a little easier to see when you diagram it. But while we're here in direct object territory, we're like Scotty's pen pal, whom he has known for years, is actually a woman. So again, similar to the one up above, we have a whole sentence, right? Pen pal is woman, right? So this is a subject, linking verb, subject complement. So that's a slivisk outside. But then I have whom he has known for years is describing that pen pal, making it an adjective clause. But he is my subject here. So he has known what for years? He has known her, right? The pen pal for years. But we don't have her, we have whom. So he has known him for years. So you take this relative pronoun, and because it is the object, you use whom, which is an easy way to remember it, right? Who is always the subject, whom is always the object. So whom he has known for years, because he has known whom for years. 4 years prepositional phrase, we're going to ignore it. But that is a relative pronoun acting as the direct object, both of these that's and whom's. So they can be subjects, but they can also be objects. The last kind of adjective clause you'll get, and it's still an adjective clause because it's still describing something, right? But instead of being a relative, you know, the who, wow, who, whom, that, which, right? It will be a relative adverb. So it'll be one of these, a when, a where, a why, or maybe a whose. So again, if you look at chapter 2, it has a list of these relatives, but once you think more about what they are telling you, it becomes a little easier to see what information the adjective phrase is giving you. Adjective clause. Wow, I just said phrase. But if you've got another kind of dependent clause acting as an adjective, it will be introduced by a when, a where, a why, or a whose. So you're like Europe, where the story is set, is filled with possible adventures. So find your main sentence, right? Europe is filled with possible adventures, so Europe is filled, right? This is a subject, intransitive verb, prepositional phrase. So this is a siva. Now I have this extra where the story is set. So this is describing Europe, making it an adjective clause. The story is my subject, is set. That's an intransitive verb. And then where is that relative adverb, right? Describing Europe. His friends, whose relationship is really awkward, join him on his journey. So again, independent clause on the outside, friends join him. So regular Steve Doe. But then I also have this extra part, right? Whose relationship is awkward. So relationship is awkward is describing the friends whose is introducing this dependent clause. So I know this gets a little weird, but just come with me. We're going to do a similar thing to what we did with adverb clauses where we connected verb to verb. But in this case, they're adjectives. So they have to connect to the word that they are modifying. So if we just quickly scroll back, we know that this tells us about Matt Damon. We know that this is the song. We know that this tells us about the pen pal. And we know that this tells us about Europe, and this tells us about his friends. So that's the word it's going to connect to. So if we look at, you're going to need a lot more space, obviously, because your diagrams are just going to get bigger and bigger from here on out. But we've got Matt Damon plays the boyfriend, right? And then he is who sings the song. And then he sings it where in Eurotrip. So who and Matt Damon are connected. by a dotted line. That's the dotted line that shows me that this is a dependent clause. Now, what if it's Scotty doesn't know is the song from Eurotrip that I love? So you're like, Scotty doesn't know his song, right? Slavisk up here. And then it's the song I love that. So the that is connected to the song. Whereas Matt Damon is connected to the who. I don't have a who here. It's not song I, it's song that. So that's why it's connected there in the direct object spot as opposed to the subject spot. This next one where you've got the whom, right? Again, a direct object. So we're like, Scotty's pen pal is woman. And then we know this is about the pen pal. He has known whom, and then the whom is the pen pal, right? That's whom it is referring to. So that's why it's connected in the object spot. Whom is always going to be an object. Makes it easier. Who is always going to be a subject. If your sentence is wrong, then it's not going to help you. But if your sentence is grammatically correct, then diagramming it should be easy with who and whom because you know automatically where it has to go. Europe, where the story is set. So Europe is filled, right? And then the story is set where. Now, this is a little different. This is like a combo of the adverb clause we had before because you're writing the word on the line. But remember, you have a dependent clause here, a complete sentence. Story is set. And then all of that is connecting to Europe. And then you have to put the where somewhere. So it goes over here on the line. So that's how you deal with relative adverbs. And then we have one more, right? Yeah, his friends. So his friends' relationship is really awkward. So that's my dependent. And then I connect it with the who's on the line because the who's has nowhere to go, right? Relationship is the subject, so who's can't go anywhere else. So it has to connect it there. So adjective clauses will modify a noun or anything acting as a noun, right? Gerunds, infinitives, whatever. It will tell you which one or what kind. It can be introduced by a relative pronoun, and that relative pronoun can be the subject or the object, or by a relative adverb, right? Or a pronoun. But in every case, they're going to clearly refer back to another word in the previous sentence. And a brief note while we're here, is it a noun clause or is it in a positive? It can be really easy. Appositives are phrases. They will not have a subject and a verb. Nouns, clauses, right, have subject and verb. And that's the difference here. Appositives will always be phrases. Clauses will always have a subject and a verb. So if you've got who sings the song, who sings, subject, verb, this is a noun clause. Whereas singer of the song, this is a phrase. There's no verb here, right? It's just singer of the song. So this isn't a positive. So that's how you can tell, right? Is do I have a subject and a verb in between? Yes, clause, no, a positive. And that will help you. Now you're ready to practice exercise 6B and take your time, give yourself lots of room. These are going to get really big here. And also it's about the Blues Brothers, so enjoy some music.